Hey everyone, welcome once again to 3 Up and 3 Down. This is Sweet Lou, and we will delve into the DraftKings main slate for this evening. Again, I apologize, second week in a row now that this video is late. I promise you if things go well this week, we will have it up by no later than Friday evening next week. As I mentioned last week, week one in college football is always extremely difficult because of the high turnover rate of players and the fact that there's really no accountability at the college level as far as injuries go or depth charts. They can do and say anything they want. And even a lot of the beat writers that I spoke to were kind of confused as to what was going to happen. Of our 6 players, only 3 hit value. The only one, I think only one of them was really a good play. So, last year I was fully engaged in 18, including playoffs, 18 different college football weeks, and 14 of them were winning weeks. Of the 4 that weren't, one of them was week 1, and that's always a very difficult one. Maybe I'll sit out next year at this time for week 1 and see what happens, but that's probably not in my nature. Once again, I'm Sweet Lou, and hopefully we're going to win a lot of money this year. Last year was a very profitable season, and please hit like and subscribe so we can keep this channel going. There's not a whole lot of you watching right now, but hopefully the ones that do will make a lot of money. So now I'm going to start with my 3 up players. These are players that I think you need to pay up for the DraftKings main slate, which starts at noon today. Number 1 is going to be quarterback Sawyer Robertson out of Baylor. He is at 7,700. He threw for 419 yards last week and 0 turnovers. I mean, again, it was against a not very good team, but he can also run a little bit. The Baylor SMU game this week has the highest implied total for the 2 teams combined. I expect this one to be a little bit of a shootout. Before we go on to the next 3 up session of this, I checked the weather. The only game that may be impacted on that slate by any kind of weather is the game at Florida against Central Florida. And just like a typical Florida weather, there's a 50 to 60% chance of thunderstorms. It could be a heavy downpour at any time. The only person that I was considering in that game was wide receiver Wilson for Florida. Because you never know when the rains are going to come down here, I did stay away from him. Next up on the 3 up will be running back Hollywood Smothers from North Carolina State. The Wolfpack play Virginia. Smothers is 6,500. He has 0 competition as the number 1 back, and I like to see that. Plus, he's also involved in the passing game. Last week, he had 22 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown, and also caught all 4 of his targets. So Hollywood Smothers is going to be on a majority of my lineups for me this week. And finally, on the 3 up, it's going to be another running back, Yassine Willis from Syracuse, which plays UConn. He is 6,300. He's another workhorse, just like Smothers is. I would like to see him get involved in the passing game a little bit more. Hopefully this is the week that he does that. I expect this to be a relatively close game throughout, with Syracuse maybe, within a touchdown, a 10-point victory at the end. So I imagine he's probably going to be involved for all 4 quarters. Now for the 3 down session of this broadcast. These are players that I think are extremely underpriced and are going to have an outstanding chance of hitting value. Number 1 is going to be wide receiver Romello Brinson from SMU at 4,800. Again, I'm staying in that Baylor SMU game. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. Truth be told, I would love to take an SMU running back in this game against the bad Baylor run defense. However, they're using a 3-headed monster right now, and that makes it tough, but I think there's going to be a lot of points. And Brinson, to me, he had 7 catches. He had 8 targets, which is even more important last week. 121 yards and a touchdown. Again, it was against 0 competition, East Texas A&M. But I think he's going to be their primary receiver this year. And that's why he's on that list. The next one's a little bit of a gamble. And then it's going to be quarterback Bo Pribula of Missouri, which plays Kansas. He is at 6,100, which is a little bit high for the 3 down thing, but not really high for a quarterback. He had an incredible line. I love running quarterbacks. He had 10 carries last week against Central Arkansas, which isn't very good, but it was actually a pretty tight game. And he threw for a ton of yards. I anticipate him, I believe it was 283 yards on 23 of 28. I think he is going to have to throw the ball, and I think there's going to be more running opportunities than the 10 carries he had last week for 65 yards. He is a Penn State transfer. For those of you who remember last year, he transferred out before Penn State made it to the playoffs. He wanted a chance to start with Drew Aller coming back at quarterback for Penn State. Perbula, who is a graduate student, decided, hey, you know what, I'm going to go to the Big 12 and play there. And finally, for our 3 down, it's going to be wide receiver Harrison Wallace III of Ole Miss. Ole Miss plays Kentucky, and he is at 4,900. For those of you that follow me on the channel last year, Harrison Wallace is another Penn State transfer, as I just said. He helped us win quite a bit of money on 2 or 3 weeks last year because he was always underpriced. They're pretty receiver deep at Ole Miss, but I do think he's going to turn out to be the best of the bunch. He had a good first week, and I anticipate that's going to continue, and they're going to have to throw the ball quite a bit in this game. Once again, and I'm going to, again, this is so late, I don't have any of my graphics set, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it over to the screen that I have up, so you guys can see them and write them down. And of course, I'm not going to be able to do that, so maybe this will show you. You can see my TV sets up there ready for tonight's games, but hopefully you guys can see this. If not, I sincerely apologize. But again, my 3-up players: quarterback Sawyer Robertson of Baylor, running back Hollywood Smothers of North Carolina State, running back Justine Willis of Syracuse. The 3 down are wide receiver Romello Brinson of SMU, quarterback Bo Prevula of Missouri, wide receiver Harrison Wallace III of Ole Miss. And again, I will try to get all my, if I can get confident enough where I can have this up on a Friday afternoon or a Friday evening, the graphics will be a lot better. The graphics right now suck, but again, as I mentioned in week 1, this is a No Frills channel. We are here to try to win some money, as a lot of you did last year. I have a much better feeling this week than we did last week, although I will say week 2 it can also be a little bit hard, simply because a lot of times what we learned in week 1, especially with a lot of mismatches, does not necessarily carry over, and coaches are still trying to figure out their staff, but I feel pretty confident about these. Once again, I'm Sweet Lou. I'll be available until about 11:15. If you guys have any questions about your lineups whatsoever, you can leave me a comment. After that time, I start getting on the phone. I start checking injuries, which you should too. Start getting on the phone with my beat writers that are, all over the country. And, please hit like, subscribe, and let's go win some money, and we'll see you next week.